The void stretched endlessly, black and merciless, broken only by the glint of distant stars. Against this infinite darkness, a single human ship drifted, a solitary beacon of defiance. The USS Resolute was tiny compared to the alien armadas that dominated this sector, yet it moved with purpose, as if daring the galaxy itself to notice. Captain Elias Reyes stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the cold metal rail as his eyes scanned the looming silhouettes on the tactical display. Millions of kilometers away, the enemy fleets hung in formation, their hulls enormous, spiked, and deadly. Ships of alien design stretched across the void like jagged teeth, their weapons charging in ominous, steady pulses. Plasma arcs shimmered along their turrets, casting eerie reflections across the human crew's tense faces. "Are they noticing us?" Lieutenant Mara Ven asked, her voice tight, betraying the edge of fear she tried to hide. "Not yet," Reyes replied, his eyes narrowing. "And if they do, they'll regret it." A ripple of unease passed through the crew. One ship against thousands was not just daring, it was madness. Yet madness, Reyes knew, was humanity's hidden weapon. The Armada's sensors were already scanning, humming with alien precision. Waves of energy swept the void like invisible tides, searching for anything that moved. Resolute was small, its hull a sliver of silver against the darkness, yet it moved like a phantom. The ship's thrusters glowed faintly, barely a whisper against the mechanical roar of the alien machines. "Captain," the communications officer called. "Incoming transmission. The aliens, they're laughing. They think we're insignificant." Reyes allowed himself the barest smirk. "Let them laugh. That's the sound of underestimation. And underestimation is what humans excel at." On the screen, enormous alien dreadnoughts shifted in formation, their weapons converging toward the human ship's predicted trajectory. It was a trap, or rather, it was supposed to be. Reyes knew the alien's confidence was a weapon he could exploit. The bridge shivered as the Resolute adjusted course. Stars streaked past in long, distorted lines, the ship cutting through the darkness like a knife. Outside the reinforced viewport, the alien ships loomed, immense and terrible, yet somehow motionless, as if waiting for the human ship to falter. A bead of sweat traced down Mara Ven's temple. "Captain, how are we going to survive against that?" "By not surviving," Reyes replied quietly, a glint of steel in his eyes. "By making them remember us. One ship doesn't run. One ship fights, and one ship." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "Changes the game." The crew exchanged uncertain glances. Some were scared, others inspired. They all felt at this strange thrill of standing alone, against impossible odds. The Resolute was more than a ship. It was humanity's stubborn heartbeat in a galaxy that had long forgotten what courage looked like. Outside, the alien armadas bristled with potential energy. Every cannon glowed with lethal intent, every vessel a monster poised to devour. And yet, in that darkness, the Resolute glimmered, a single silver thread weaving through a tapestry of death, and then the first pulse of alien fire lit the void, a distant streak, fast and hot, seeking to incinerate a tiny human spark. The crew held their breath. This is it, they knew. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy what defiance looked like. The void waited, the armadas waited, and in between, the Resolute moved like a shadow, small, fragile, and impossibly alive. The USS Resolute shivered as the first pulse of alien fire streaked past its bow. Outside the reinforced viewport, the void erupted in a silent blaze of energy. Trails of incandescent plasma lit the darkness for a heartbeat before fading into black. The human crew's hearts pounded in sync with the ship's thrumming engines. Captain Elias Reyes didn't flinch. He leaned over the tactical display, tracing alien formations with a practiced eye. Each fleet was enormous, their numbers staggering, yet they moved with rigid predictability, a flaw Reyes intended to exploit. Sensors report incoming fire from 3 directions. Lieutenant Mara Ven said, her voice tight. We can't dodge all of it. Hull integrity is not a problem, Reyes interrupted, his tone calm but sharp. We're not dodging, we're weaving. The Resolute shifted its course, thrusters flaring just enough to make it unpredictable. The ship danced between energy arcs like a phantom, moving along paths the alien commanders couldn't anticipate. Outside, plasma bolts streaked past, colliding with empty space, leaving the void shimmering with their fading brilliance. The bridge lights flickered as the hull shuddered. Every pulse of alien fire was a reminder. One hit, and the Resolute would be vapor. Yet the humans pressed forward, silent in determination, hearts locked in a rhythm that only desperation and courage could produce. Captain, they're coordinating, the communications officer warned. If we break their line, they'll converge on us with double force. Reyes didn't look away from the screen. Then we find the weakness first. Outside, alien ships moved in perfect formation, their shadows massive against the backdrop of distant nebulae. The crew could see the alien cannons charging, long fingers of energy preparing to shred the tiny human ship. Yet something micro-glitch in their sensor patterns. A momentary hesitation, barely noticeable. Got it, Reyes murmured. They're too confident in their numbers. They assume predictability. Assume what? Mara asked. Assume we'll play by their rules, Reyes replied. His fingers danced over the controls, sending the Resolute into a slalom of near-impossible maneuvers. The ship twisted, rolled, and darted between streams of deadly energy. Outside, arcs of plasma passed within meters, the hull glowing briefly, as the ship absorbed shockwaves and thruster bursts. Hulls holding, but just barely, the engineer reported, sweat gleaming on his forehead. Reyes's eyes were cold fire. Good. Keep it that way. Every second we survive, every pulse we dodge, they're learning something, and they won't like it. The crew watched as alien dreadnoughts shifted in formation, trying to anticipate the human ship's next move. Their arrogance, their confidence, it was their undoing. Every cannon aimed, every pulse charged, now had a target that refused to be hit. Resolute became a ghost in the storm, moving with precision born of audacity. Captain, the navigator said, pointing at a flicker on the tactical screen. Sensors picked up a weak point in their network. Command signals are lagging slightly. If we strike there, Reyes's lips curled into the smallest hint of a grin. If we strike there, the storm becomes ours. The Resolute shifted into position, threading the eye of the massive alien formation like a needle through silk. Outside, the void was chaos plasma bolts lighting the darkness. The vast ships of the Armadas like mountains trembling under invisible winds. And in the center of it all, one human ship glided, unbroken, unstoppable in its defiance. The first true counterstrike had not yet begun. But already, the humans had forced the aliens to reveal themselves, to expose weaknesses that no other species could exploit. In that moment, suspended between annihilation and audacious survival, every crew member understood something fundamental in the dark expanse of the galaxy. Courage and cunning were more lethal than size or firepower, and the void seemed to pause, as if holding its breath, waiting for what came next. The void erupted in a sudden, blinding roar. Alien plasma cannons lit the darkness with violent streaks of green and violet, each bolt screaming through space like molten lightning. The USS Resolute shivered under the near misses, the hull glowing red where the ship's shields absorbed the brunt of the attack. Captain Elias Reyes gritted his teeth, eyes flicking between tactical displays and the viewport. The alien armadas moved with terrifying precision, yet every pulse of fire seemed to overreach, leaving gaps, a pattern only a human mind could exploit. Shields at 60%, shouted the chief engineer, sweat dripping down his face. We can't take another hit like that. Then we won't, Reyes said, his voice calm, almost eerily so. Engage evasive patterns Delta 7 through Delta 9 now. The Resolute twisted in impossible arcs, spinning around its own axis, while darting laterally between streams of deadly plasma. Outside, streaks of alien energy tore through the void, missing by meters, illuminating the human faces in the bridge with a ghostly, flickering glow. Sparks danced across consoles as the ship's hull absorbed tremors from near impacts. Lieutenant Mara Ven's hands flew over the controls, matching each thruster adjustment with precision timing. "We're threading the eye of their formation," she called. "Every move. It's almost like they're learning our pattern as we move." Reyes nodded. "Good. Let them think they're adapting. We'll teach them how dangerous that is." For a heartbeat, the Resolute seemed to disappear into the darkness, vanishing between the chaos of flashing energy and colliding shadows of alien dreadnoughts. Then, in an instant, it reappeared, slicing through the void like a blade. "Captain, I've calculated a strike point," the weapons officer said, fingers flying across the targeting console. "The network lag we detected, if we hit it now, we could disrupt their entire firing sequence." Reyes leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Do it. Fire on my mark. Now." The human ship unleashed a volley of concentrated plasma bursts, each bolt tracing a perfect arc toward the network node buried within the lead alien command ship. Outside, energy streams twisted as alien systems began to stutter, cannons misfiring and ships colliding in chaotic patterns. Sparks of green and violet cascaded across the void as the alien armada trembled under the sudden disruption. "Direct hit," the weapons officer yelled. "Command network offline." The bridge erupted in tense excitement. For the first time, the aliens faltered. Their disciplined formations wavered, massive vessels twisting in futile correction attempts. Every bolt of alien fire now risked striking their own ships. Reyes's grin was sharp and brief. "See, bravery isn't just standing in the storm. It's knowing when to strike back, when to turn the chaos into a weapon." The crew moved like a well-oiled machine, navigating the turbulence with skill born from desperation and instinct. Outside, the void had become a storm of energy arcs, exploding hulls, and drifting debris, a cosmic battlefield, lit by the flash of every near-miss and every human strike. Even as the alien armadas began to recover, confusion had already taken root. Every ship that had once been a mountain of indestructible firepower now trembled under the unpredictability of one small human vessel. "Captain," Mara said, her voice a mixture of awe and adrenaline, "we're not just surviving, we're controlling it. We're shaping the battle." Reyes's gaze swept the void, taking in the chaos and the beauty of human ingenuity at work. "Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. One ship against a galaxy of armadas, and we've already begun to rewrite the rules." Outside, the alien commanders cursed, their ships shuddering under the first taste of human audacity. The void seemed to vibrate with potential, a living entity waiting for the next act. And in the middle of it, the USS Resolute moved with impossible grace, a tiny vessel that dared to stand against the weight of empires. The void was no longer silent. It roared with the thunder of alien engines, the crackling flare of misfiring plasma, and the ghostly shimmer of distant explosions. The USS Resolute glided through the chaos, small but unbroken, weaving between the wreckage of alien vessels caught in the ripple of its first strike. Captain Elias Reyes leaned over the tactical display, eyes sharp. The alien fleets were staggering, their once perfect formation fractured, still dangerous, but now unpredictable. "They're trying to regroup," Lieutenant Mara Ven said, her hands moving faster than thought across the controls. "But their coordination is shot. Command ships are struggling to regain control." Reyes's eyes flicked toward the viewport. Outside, massive alien dreadnoughts drifted, colliding as their own firepower turned against them. Trails of plasma arced in impossible angles, painting the darkness with jagged streaks of green and violet. Each explosion sent shards of alien metal, drifting like deadly meteors. "Good," Reyes muttered. "We don't just survive, Mara. We dictate the terms." The crew felt the pulse of danger and triumph in equal measure. The Resolute was Fragula's single human ship against the galaxy's armada, but every near miss, every evasive twist, every daring counterstrike was a message. Humans were not to be underestimated. The communications officer's voice broke the tense rhythm. "Captain, sensors are detecting weak points in multiple ships simultaneously. The network disruption you caused is spreading." Reyes's gaze sharpened. "Target them. Prioritize command nodes and weapons arrays. If we push the disruption through the fleet, we can turn this storm into a cascade." Mara's fingers danced across the console as the human ship carved through the battlefield. Outside, alien vessels erupted in flashes of uncontrolled energy. Massive hulls spun helplessly as plasma arcs tore at them from within. Every strike the Resolute made was precise, surgical tiny pulses with devastating consequences. "Captain," the weapons officer said, eyes wide, "we've created a chain reaction. Their firepower is collapsing inward. Ships are destroying each other by accident." Reyes allowed himself a brief, grim smile. "Good. Chaos is an ally when you can control it." The Resolute twisted, flipping end over end as it sliced through narrow gaps between colossal alien ships. Plasma bolts streaked past, scraping hull plating and leaving sizzling trails of energy. Sparks danced along the ship's frame, illuminating the crew's tense but resolute faces. The bridge was alive with anticipation, adrenaline sharpening every sense. From the viewport, the void looked like a storm of shattered glass. Alien firestorms collided with drifting debris, creating a tapestry of light and shadow. The Resolute moved through it, like a needle threading impossibly fine silk. "Captain, we've got a direct line to the Armada's main formation," the navigator shouted. "If we hit this sequence, their fleets could lose half their combat efficiency within minutes." Reyes's fingers hovered over the fire controls. "Then let's remind them why humans are feared. Prepare for concentrated strike timing, and precision will be everything." Outside, the alien commanders were frantic. Their once perfect armadas now twisted in disarray. Massive vessels bumping into each other, shields flaring and failing. Their confidence was cracking, replaced by confusion and fear. The first tangible evidence that a single human ship could bend the tide of a galaxy-wide battle. The void held its breath as the Resolute prepared to strike again. The crew knew this was more than survival. Every maneuver, every counterstrike was shaping the battlefield, proving that courage, cunning, and audacity could outmatch sheer size and firepower. And in the endless darkness, the human ship glimmered a single spark of defiance against impossible odds. The void trembled with the echoes of fractured fleets. Alien dreadnoughts spun helplessly, their once perfect formation now a chaotic lattice of fire, energy, and metal. Amidst the storm, the USS Resolute glided like a predator, small but precise, calculating every move with cold efficiency. Captain Elias Reyes stood at the helm, his eyes sharp, tracking multiple vectors on the tactical display. Each alien vessel that flinched, misfired, or collided was a story of human cunning unfolding in real time. "Mara, status," Reyes commanded. "We're threading their formation." "Captain, Lieutenant Mara," Ven replied, fingers flying across the controls. "The command nodes are destabilized, but their central dreadnought is still operational. If it recovers, it could regroup the rest." Reyes's jaw tightened. "Then we finish this now. Full concentrated strike. No hesitation." The human ship twisted and rolled, using the wreckage of alien vessels as cover, weaving through a deadly gauntlet of stray plasma and disoriented ships. The void outside was a maelstrom of light and shadow green and violet streaks of energy, flaring against the backdrop of distant stars. The debris of battle spinning in silent chaos. "Weapons locked," the officer reported, targeting the central dreadnought's exposed command array. We can hit it, but it's heavily shielded. Then we find the chink, Reyes said, eyes narrowing. Focus fire on the relay points. We disrupt the shields, and everything else falls like dominoes. The Resolute surged forward, small thrusters flaring as it darted through gaps no other ship could navigate. Alien cannons flared in desperate attempts to track the human ship, but the Resolute moved like a ghost, predictable only in its audacity. Outside, the first plasma bolts slammed into the dreadnought's shield, sparks cascading across the void as energy flares danced like fireworks. The massive vessel shuddered under precise human fire, its defensive systems flaring and stuttering. Shields at 50%, the engineer reported, voice tight with tension. One more direct hit, and let's give them that, Hit Reyes interrupted. All batteries fire at the relay nodes. Make it count. A volley of concentrated plasma tore through the gaps in the dreadnought's defenses. Outside, the void erupted in a blinding flash as energy arcs flared and shields collapsed. The massive ship trembled violently, systems sparking, weapons array malfunctioning, and drones tumbling helplessly into the void. Direct hit on the command array, the weapons officer shouted. They're falling apart. The alien armadas, now leaderless and chaotic, collided in a chain reaction. Ships spun into each other, plasma streams misfiring, and entire squadrons were thrown into uncontrolled spins. The battlefield was a violent ballet of destruction, every explosion lighting the darkness with a brief, brilliant brilliance. Reyes's eyes scanned the tactical display, noting the cascading collapse of alien formations. This is it, he muttered. One strike can ripple through the entire fleet. Humans don't just fight, we teach. Mara's voice trembled, a mixture of adrenaline and awe. Captain, they're breaking. Every formation is collapsing. We've done it. Reyes allowed himself the briefest smile. Not yet. One ship doesn't win a war alone, but one ship can show the galaxy that underestimating humans is fatal. The Resolute twisted through the chaos, riding the waves of destruction it had created. The void was alive with the brilliance of explosions, the shimmer of energy, and the cold shadow of massive alien hulls, drifting like ghosts. And in the center of it all, the human ship glowed, a beacon of defiance, audacity, and unyielding courage. Even in the shadow of annihilation, the humans had shown one immutable truth in the vast emptiness of space. Strategy, cunning, and courage could shatter the mightiest of empires. The Resolute had struck the hammer first, and the galaxy was about to feel its echo. The void had shifted. What was once a chaotic battlefield of misfiring alien fleets now bristled with lethal intent. The USS Resolute had forced fractures in the armadas, but the remnants were far from defeated. From the wreckage, the aliens were Rallian's tidal wave of retaliation gathering in the shadows of debris and explosions. Captain Elias Reyes stood at the helm, his jaw tight. They're coming back. Harder, faster. Brace yourselves. This isn't over. Lieutenant Mara Vent's hands moved like lightning across the controls, tracking vectors that screamed across the tactical display. They've learned our maneuvers. They're predicting our patterns now. Every gap we used before. It's a trap waiting to snap shut. The void trembled as a massive alien cruiser emerged from the debris cloud, its hull bristling with newly activated plasma cannons. Around it, dozens of smaller vessels formed a storming crescent, closing in with predatory precision. Their formation pulsed like a living organism, ready to crush anything in its path. Shields at 70%, the engineer warned. We can't take another direct hit from a cruiser that size. Reyes's eyes scanned the viewport. Outside, streaks of plasma flared like jagged lightning, illuminating the twisting chaos of drifting alien hulks. Then we don't take a direct hit. We survive long enough to make them kill themselves. The Resolute twisted violently, small thrusters firing in rapid bursts as Mara threaded the ship between two massive alien cruisers. Plasma bolts hissed past, colliding with drifting debris, lighting the void in violent flashes. Sparks danced across the human ship's hull as glancing hits scraped the outer plating, leaving trails of scorching metal. "Captain, they're converging on us from multiple vectors," the weapons officer shouted. "If they close in, we're done for." Reyes's gaze hardened. "Then we don't let them close. Weapons, focus on the lead cruiser. Every hit must disrupt their formation, draw them apart, make them vulnerable to each other." The human ship darted like a shadow among the alien vessels, firing pinpoint volleys at exposed nodes. Outside, the cruisers shuddered as shields flickered under concentrated fire. Smaller vessels collided in panicked confusion, misfiring plasma bolts slicing through the void. Some hitting allies instead of the Resolute. "Captain, sensors are picking up a massive energy surge just ahead of us," Mara said, voice tight. "It looks like a coordinated trap." Reyes's grin was sharp, dangerous. "Then we make the trap work for us. Full thrusters through the eye of it. Brace for impact." Mentally, if not physically, the human ship surged forward, threading through a funnel of alien fire. Plasma streams collided with the debris field, exploding in brilliant showers of green and violet light. The Resolute twisted, dodging, diving, and rolling with impossible precision. Sparks flew along the hull, consoles flared under stress, and the bridge vibrated with the energy of near-misses. Then, in the center of the maelstrom, the trap snapped, but it snapped around nothing. The alien vessels, too tightly packed and overconfident, began colliding with each other. Explosions rippled through the void as hulls ruptured and plasma cannons misfired into neighboring ships. The Resolute emerged from the chaos, unscathed but dancing on the knife's edge of annihilation. Reyes exhaled slowly. "Every empire has a weakness," he said quietly. "Even when it thinks it has learned your pattern, even when it hunts you, it can still be its own undoing." Mara's voice was a mixture of relief and awe. "We survived, and they destroyed themselves." Outside, the void was alive with cascading wreckage and the flickering remnants of alien energy. For a moment, it seemed as if the human ship alone could hold back the tide of destruction. And in that silence, the crew realized the truth. Survival wasn't luck. It was audacity. It was cunning. It was human. The Resolute had faced the maelstrom and shown that a single spark could ignite a galaxy-wide storm. The void seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleets were fractured, staggering under the chaos sown by the USS Resolute, but their fury had not diminished. If anything, it had sharpened. Captain Elias Reyes knew the moment had come. The line between survival and decisive victory had narrowed to a razor's edge. "Captain," Lieutenant Maraven said, eyes glued to the tactical display, "we've identified the Central Command nexus. Their fleet's coordination depends entirely on it. One strike, and the rest could collapse." Reyes's fingers hovered over the fire controls. "Then we go in. Full speed, no hesitation. This is where the human spark either ignites the storm or burns out." The Resolute surged forward, small thrusters flaring, weaving through a shattered galaxy of alien debris. Hull fragments drifted past like deadly specters, sparks lighting the void as plasma arcs hissed in close proximity. The alien ships, desperate and disoriented, fired blindly, their volleys missing by meters, sometimes striking each other instead. "Incoming," the weapons officer shouted. "Heavy plasma torpedoes, converging on our trajectory." Reyes' jaw tightened. Evasive maneuvers, predictive matrix now. The human ship twisted violently, rolling through the void, dodging the torpedoes with impossible precision. One missed shot slammed into a drifting alien frigate, detonating it in a blinding flash that lit the darkness like a miniature supernova. Another torpedo tore through the debris field, scattering shards of hull across the void. Mara's voice was tight with concentration. "Captain, their shields are stronger than expected. Direct hit won't penetrate unless we strike the relay nodes simultaneously. Then split fire? Divide and conquer," Reyes said, voice low but deadly certain. We don't just destroy, we unravel them. The bridge of the Resolute was alive with motion. Every crew member worked in perfect synchrony, their focus absolute. Outside, the void was a canvas of war-jagged streaks of plasma slicing across. The darkness, alien ships colliding in chaotic spirals, explosions erupting like stars dying in agony. Reyes gritted his teeth. Weapons, fire sequence, alpha target relay nodes. Timing must be flawless. Mara, guide us between the flares. Every millisecond counts. The ship surged forward, threading the narrow channel of debris. Plasma bolts streaked past, grazing hull plating, while the Resolute fired with surgical precision. One by one, the alien relay nodes exploded in synchronized flashes, ripping gaps in the dreadnought's shields. Sparks cascaded across its massive hull, systems shuddering under the concentrated human assault. Shields collapsing. The engineer shouted, "They're exposed." "Then strike the heart," Reyes said, voice like steel. "For humanity." The final volley fired, tearing into the command nexus at the center of the alien formation. A pulse of energy rippled outward, like a shockwave through the void, sending entire fleets spinning in uncontrolled chaos. Ships collided, plasma cannons overloaded, and alien formations disintegrated into fragments of fire and metal. Outside, the battlefield was transformed. The void shimmered with the aftermath, burning wreckage drifting silently. The stars reflected in shards of alien metal, a testament to audacity and strategy. The Resolute floated in the eye of the storm, battered but unbroken, its crew breathing the tense exhalation of survival. Reyes looked around the bridge, at the exhausted but triumphant faces of his crew. "We did it," he whispered. "We turned a single spark into a wildfire." Mara allowed herself a brief smile. "The Armadas, they're finished, or at least, broken." Reyes's eyes scanned the void. The lesson was clear. Size, numbers, and raw firepower could never outmatch courage, ingenuity, and the audacity to defy impossible odds. Humanity had carved its mark into the galaxy not as a threat to be ignored, but as a force to be reckoned with. The Resolute floated amidst the wreckage. Small but monumental, a human beacon shining defiantly in the endless dark. And somewhere, deep in the stars, the echo of human audacity would reverberate long after the last alien cruiser had fallen. The void was eerily silent. The alien armadas, once a roaring storm of fire and malice, now lay broken, drifting in the cold expanse, like shattered constellations. The USS Resolute floated among the wreckage, small but indomitable, its hull scarred, but glowing with the defiance of survival. Captain Elias Reyes leaned over the console, eyes scanning the remnants of the battlefield. Each piece of debris, each twisted fragment of alien metal, told a story of audacity against impossible odds. And in that silence, the human crew felt something deeper, a victory carved, not just through firepower, but through ingenuity, courage, and unshakable resolve. "Status report," Reyes commanded, voice steady, despite the adrenaline still coursing through the bridge. Lieutenant Mara Van's fingers moved over the controls, her face lit by the glow of the tactical display. "Central Command Nexus destroyed. Remaining vessels are either drifting or completely incapacitated. We're alone out here, Captain. The Armadas are gone." Reyes exhaled slowly, a weight lifting from his shoulders. Alone, but not helpless. Humanity showed them something they'll never forget. Outside, the void shimmered with the aftermath of battle. Massive alien hulls rotated slowly, torn open by the precise strikes of the Resolute. Sparks danced, like dying stars across the darkness, and distant plasma flares flickered, casting the scene in a surreal, almost ethereal light. For a moment, the devastation felt like a cruel kind of beauty, a testament to the stakes of survival and the cost of defiance. "Captain," Mara said softly, almost to herself, We did this. With just one ship, Rhea's gaze met hers, resolute. One ship, yes, but one that refused to be intimidated. One that fought smarter, faster, and with audacity. Humanity isn't measured by the size of its fleets. It's measured by the courage of those who refuse to bow down, even when the odds are impossible. The crew exchanged glances, exhaustion mingling with awe. Each member knew the truth. They had done the unimaginable. They had taken a single human vessel and turned it into a storm that no alien armada could withstand. Then, from the stillness of the void, a deep resonance began to hum, a subtle, almost imperceptible echo that grew into a rhythmic pulse. The cannons they had fired, the precise strikes, the energy surges they reverberated through the remnants of alien technology. Systems that had once coordinated fleets now sparked sporadically, emitting flashes of light that danced across the void, like ghostly fireworks. "It's beautiful," Mara whispered. "The cannons, they're singing." Reyes allowed himself a rare smile, the tension finally breaking. "It's the sound of defiance, Mara, of one ship proving that courage and strategy can echo farther than brute strength. Let the galaxy hear it." Outside, the Resolute turned its thrusters toward the stars, leaving the broken armadas behind. The wreckage floated silently, a graveyard of arrogance and miscalculation. But ahead, light from distant suns painted the path of the human ship in gold and violet, whose promise of survival, hope, and the audacity to defy impossible odds. Again and again, in the hearts of the crew, a lesson had been forged. In the vast darkness of space, where empires rise and fall, it is not the size of the fleet that commands respect, but the spirit, cunning, and courage of those willing to stand alone. And as the Resolute disappeared into the distant horizon of stars, the void echoed with the resonance of human audacity. The cannons had sung, and the galaxy had listened.